for the music?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it says we're live. We are having technical difficulties right now, so we're going to turn off our cameras, get ready for the class today. Make sure you share with your friends. And if you have any questions, please know to type in a Q and we'll try to get to them. We're having major difficulties today. So we're going to get through this because with God, all things are possible. Here we go. You know what to do. It's time to dance.
Not until the record button's on.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, here we go. It's time to dance.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place that you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, it's been since 2018 since we had Dr. Veronique Desaulniers in the classroom. She is a chiropractic doctor by traditionally trained, and because of her life and the things that happened to her, she was able to learn some great skills when it comes in some new truths when it comes to cancer, breast cancer to be exact. And so back in 2018, she came onto the radio and she shared her 7 essential keys, and she shared about her story. It's a wonderful story. And I thought, you know what, it's worth getting reconnected with Dr. V and have you listen to the importance of new truths that are being suppressed in the media, because, you know, traditional medicine pays more money than natural. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Dr. Veronique Desaulniers is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Veronique. Come out wherever you are. There you are. So excited that this part went well.
Oh.
So share a little bit about your background and what led you to these new truths that you've been sharing with so many women and people that are facing this, making decisions about breast cancer or cancer in general.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for reconnecting. It's been great. I always enjoyed spending time with you, and you look beautiful, amazing. And thank you for sharing your heart and to really putting yourself out there to be able to support other people around the world. So, my story started many years ago, but to kind of recap it, I was in the shower getting ready for work. I was a chiropractor by profession, and 23 years into my practice, and I was a wellness warrior, teaching everybody how to prevent and heal dis-ease. And I was doing a breast self-exam, and bam, felt that lump in my left breast that changed the course of my life professionally and personally. And it was a big shock for me, as it is for anybody else who's diagnosed. But I was the wellness warrior, and I thought I was doing everything right. So how could I develop breast cancer? So I had to really look at my life, look at things that I was doing, things that I was not doing, and really go down that rabbit hole of research and really figure out this puzzle, because I knew that cancer was just a symptom. It's not the cause, right? And so I wanted to get to the root of what allowed cancer to show up in my life. So basically sat down with literally pen and pad and said a prayer and said, okay, here I am. What's the best way for me to heal, and at the same time to be able to share this knowledge with others? And it was like a download, and that's how the 7 Essentials came about, because I knew that the body's ability to heal is very, very powerful if you give it what it needs. So from 2004 through 2006, went through my first healing journey, and all was well. And after I stopped practicing as a chiropractor, I sold my practice in 2010. I spent a couple of years trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I kept getting these messages, start sharing your story, share your story. Women need to hear what you did to heal breast cancer. So sure enough, 2012, put up a website, had no idea what I was doing. And here we are 11 years later. My team and I have supported women in 63 countries. I've got second edition of my book, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally. And along that journey, something interesting happened in 2015. So I was deep in the throes of being a breast cancer conqueror coach and, really helping women, putting myself out there. But I was neglecting my self-care. I was teaching everybody, but I wasn't practicing what I was teaching. And so sure enough, and I could tell by the way I felt, that cancer came knocking on my door again. I created that perfect storm for breast cancer to show up a second time. So this time I said, I really need to get serious about this and really teach my audience that even if you have a little detour, even if there's, things don't turn out the way you expect them to, that you can apply yourself and practice those same principles and really turn things around again, which I did. So that time it took me 3 years, and a lot of things that changed in the cancer world in those 9 years, but 3 years of intense healing. And here we are today, 5 years out, and I'm happier and healthier than I've ever been.
The first time I heard that story, I thought, so many different things could have happened to you at that moment, because we know that there's a huge component of emotional trauma, past trauma, repressed, something that you haven't dealt with. You and I have talked about this. I've even talked about this in your podcast as well. How important it is for us to be true to and deal with forgiveness and the things that we are holding in our body. Now, you as a cancer conqueror, a coach, someone that's been out there teaching women the right way to do it, all of a sudden you get it again. You could have said, I'm so full of shame, and added to your cancer, but instead you did the work that you were teaching. So I just want to, say good for you. Good for you that you were able to look within, because cancer is, like you said, it's a symptom. It's a symptom. So you were able to use your principles to now do it the way you're doing it today, right?
Yes. And there definitely was shock and embarrassment and shame for that second journey, even for the first one. And I kept it a secret, for the second time. I shared with my family and a few close friends. And what I kept in my mind when I would do my meditations and would visualize myself in the future, that I would be standing on a stage and I would be sharing my second healing journey and letting women know that even if there's a recurrence, this is what happens, this is what you can do. And now I know what to do to prevent a recurrence. So there was even more, more power and more information that I could share. And sure enough, 3 years later, I was hosting a live retreat in Atlanta, and I was on the stage and I shared it with the 150 some women that were in the room. And of course, everybody was shocked, but happy and in tears, when I went through my story. So, it's a matter of just really recognizing that we're human, we're not perfect. Correct. And I recognized that I needed to really make some major permanent changes in my life. That, maybe before I'd kind of put a Band-Aid on things and I kept rocking and rolling and didn't go as deep as I needed to go for my healing journey. And certainly I've learned some big lessons.
Now, you've learned big lessons, but have you slowed down in the process? Have you said, practicing self-care has become like maybe higher in the priority, or how did that change your essential list?
Oh, so many things that I learned. And that was one of the biggest things that I chose to put myself as a priority. Cancer personalities always give to the point of their detriment. They put other people first. They neglect that self-care. And I realized that, stress was a major contributor in my life. I was always pedal to the metal, hamster on the wheel. That was just my personality, to produce. And a promise I made to myself that I would never allow myself to get to that point of stress. So I literally cut back on my work. I hired and trained other coaches so that they did the direct coaching, and I could oversee the work with less time and energy invested in the actual business itself. So learned a lot, and it was really, really powerful. And I'm really excited to be able to share that, because women who have gone through a healing journey one time, there's always that little voice in the back of their head, what if it comes back? And they really don't know what to do to prevent that from happening. And my goal is to, teach women that they never have to fear breast cancer again. And if you understand what cancer is and what cancer is not, then you don't have that fear, because you realize you have such a large measure of control on how your body heals and functions.
Yes. And so let's go back there, because I intend for this to be for beginners 101 and for people that are deep into their journey, maybe have had a reoccurrence and now are feeling like, what did I do? And go through that shame, that blame, like, what now, God? Why are you doing this to me? But in the long run, and I told you that we just did the I Am the Solution Weekend Workshop. And this is what I say over and over and over, that it's not to us, it's for us. It's for us to learn a lesson that we haven't learned yet, deal with something that we haven't dealt with yet. So with that in mind, let's talk about what is cancer and what is not cancer.
All right. So cancer is not a genetic disease, and in a small percentage, maybe 5%, that is, miraculously passed down to you and you have no control over that. But 95% of cancers can be affected by environment and lifestyle. So cancer is an emotional dis-ease, and I say dis-ease with a hyphen between the dis and the ease, right? Dis-ease. It's a metabolic disease. It's an immune disease. It's a sugar disease. There's many factors. It's a stress disease. And so those are the things that we look at to be able to, turn things around, because how you lived your life up to your diagnosis is what allowed cancer to show up. And
Correct.
So, past your diagnosis going forward, you never want to go back to that life to allow that cancer to show up again.
So with that in mind, the first thing that a person goes to see is an oncologist, and then the oncologist starts breathing death onto them. If you don't do chemotherapy, if you don't do this biopsy, if you don't do this surgery, if you don't do this mastectomy, then you will die. What is the truth about that?
Well, the truth is you have time. You're not going to die tomorrow if you have breast cancer. And so we always encourage our clients to just take some time, take a couple of weeks, take a month, do whatever it takes to really look at your options and your belief system about your body's ability to heal. How do you want to heal? And what kind of team are you going to put together? And if you walk out of your doctor's office feeling deflated and that you're going to die tomorrow, then my suggestion is that you find somebody else to put on your team. And, just kind of as a side note, one thing that I've really learned in the last 11 years of just focusing on breast cancer, and we actually did a survey in our community, and 70% of our clients were seeing an oncologist, and we're using some of conventional medicine, but we're also using natural medicine. And then there was another survey that was done to oncologists and women with breast cancer, and 73% of those women were using a complementary approach as well. Mm-hmm. So kind of light bulb moment. I started doing a lot of research, and it took me 3 years to put this program together. It's called Survive and Thrive, Conquering Breast Cancer with Conventional Treatments and Natural Medicine. So there's no shame in having a lumpectomy or having a mastectomy, or if the cancer gets out of hand and you do need some chemo to slow down the cancer growth, that may happen at times. So it really opened up my eyes to see all the possibilities and being able to support women at all levels, to meet them where they are and to give them the support that they need. Because women who are doing conventional treatments, a lot of them, as the survey showed, 73% of them want to know what they can do to neutralize and soften those side effects from those horrible drugs.
Yeah, and chemicals,
and
toxins.
Absolutely. And women that are doing 100% natural healing, sometimes it doesn't always go the way they expect it to go. And that's when they make use of conventional treatments temporarily to be able to give their body a break and to be able to continue, following and adapting the 7 essentials. So the system is fabulous. I mean, on our group coaching call last month, we had 3 women that were stage 4. Now they were no evidence of disease.
Wonderful.
So, so it's possible for those of you that are listening, and perhaps somebody who's at that stage, or you're diagnosed. There's miracles that happen all the time around the world.
I believe that the people who try conventional, as well as the people who try alternative natural ways to heal the body, they both have something in common when they survive, is that they have a clear why. I know why I want to survive. I am going to do everything it takes to do it. And there's that will to survive. And I have to say, when people come to me, of course, I'm going to tell them, this is a symptom. Let's look at how can we dig it out? What can we find? I'm not a cancer coach. I would send them to you. I would send them to somebody else, but I can at least deal with the emotional aspect of the cancer and know enough to say, let's go this way. Let's, I've got a chart even. I even have a chart that deals with the diagnosis versus the trauma, that the area of the body where it's been stored in the body. So I even do that. But what I notice is that they want to live. They want to live, and they'll do anything. Now, there are certain things, though, Dr. V, that I know that the system, like, for example, a biopsy. Let's talk about a biopsy. And is a biopsy always good, or is a lumpectomy better than a biopsy? What do you suggest when somebody comes to you and says, the doctor wants me to do a biopsy? It could be benign, it could be cancerous, but he wants me to do a biopsy. What would you say to them?
Well, personally, I chose not to do a biopsy because I understand that the tumor is encased, and when you pierce that protective coating in the cancer, you're literally spilling millions of cancer cells into the bloodstream, and that is a cause of concern. Mm-hmm. That being said, some women absolutely want to know what kind of cancer it is, ER, PR, HER, and some women it doesn't matter. There are ways to prepare your body if you choose to do a biopsy. That we tell our clients about. It's like having surgery, right? You're literally, getting into the body and forcing things out. So things like modified citrus pectin and high dose vitamin C and high dose curcumin and high dose melatonin. These are all things that you can do to prepare your body for the trauma and continue to take those things after the fact as well. So that's just an example. And the literature is there. I mean, the literature is clear about the potential for increasing metastasis and growth when you pierce that barrier with a biopsy.
Yeah, I was working with a man who the doctor wanted to do a prostate biopsy, and they were going to do the biopsy, but they wanted to figure out if they had cancer, if they didn't have cancer. And to me, the response was, act as if you have it, because it's going to help heal your body no matter what. Why even do the biopsy? Just go for it and say, okay, I need to change my lifestyle. So let's talk about the essentials that you talk about with when you're coaching the beautiful women. And I'm sure you could coach men too, because men do get breast cancer too, which some people don't even talk about. And it's sad.
Yes, over 400 men a year die of breast cancer. You know, they don't go for any type of screening. They're not aware. And so, yes, it is very sad. And when you look at, and I really like your approach, act as if you have cancer.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree, because
life is urgent, right? Life is urgent.
Exactly. And so if we talk about the 7 essentials, so we'll start with essential number 1.
Okay.
Let food be your medicine. And I'm sure your audience is very educated and aware with the things that you've taught them. So in a nutshell, you know, eat organic as much as you can, you know, because we know the pesticides and herbicides can certainly trigger cancer. Eat lots of veggies. Make sure that your water is clean. Stay away from inflammatory oils. Add lots of nuts and seeds, preferably sprouted nuts to your diet. And if you're confused about the, you know, should I eat meat? Should I not eat meat? There's some beautiful testing out there that can help you guide your body. One of the tests that I really enjoy is called Nutrition Genome, where it looks at the genetic weaknesses that you have and the foods to best support that. And so when I did some DNA testing, it really helped me to understand why I developed cancer and what I could do to prevent that from happening again. So that's, you know, essential number 1, just be wise with your food choices, and really watch your blood sugar levels, because blood sugar is a trigger for insulin resistance, which is a trigger for inflammatory responses. And we know inflammation is the root cause of all diseases.
Yeah. Okay. And so then toxic exposure, you're going to go to the next one, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions,
Oh,
do you
well,
want to stop me, or?
No, if I do, because we've talked about food, I think everybody knows this. We know that food is medicine, and we know, and just recently I did the MQ detox experience, which is mold, metals, and microbes. It's a 12-week course with Dr. Lee Cowden. I don't know if you know Dr. Lee Cowden. And so he guided us through this experience. And one of the things that we had everybody go through was a metabolic test that was like real old. And Dr. Lee was saying to me, oh, you'll have to get the book. I'm like, well, let me see if I can find it online. And I found it online, and I sent it to everybody so that we could answer, you know, what's the best way to eat for us? Because nutrition is not a one size fit all, but we could say, you know, processed foods are not good for us. Sugar is not good for us across the board, right? What are some of the things that we can say is not good for us across the board?
Oh, well, you mentioned the sugar, anything that has pesticides, herbicides, any processed foods, things you buy in a box. Look at your choice of proteins, make sure that it has no antibiotics, no hormones, that it played in the sun and ate some grass, you know, while it was alive. And I think the test you're referring to is that the metabolic typing test by Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Williams. So I turned out, which I knew I was, I'm a balanced carnivore. I'm also an O blood type. So I do well with a little bit of protein. Yeah. What were you, just out of curiosity?
Well, I'm more plant-based.
Okay.
I'm more plant-based. I thrive on plant-based. So
okay. Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. And so, but there's a benefit to having a little bit of animal products. So I follow Dr. Joe Furman. He's been a teacher in the classroom since 2015. Every month he's on. We've switched to every other month now. But I've learned that 5 to 10% of animal products do me okay. But if I go more than that, it's just not a pretty picture. Not a pretty picture.
I understand.
Okay, so let's
All
move
right.
on to toxic exposure.
So essential number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. We know we live in a toxic planet. We can't live in a bubble, but there's a lot of things that you can do to reduce that exposure. So look at, from a macro point of view, look at what you're doing in your yard. Are you using, pesticides, herbicides, toxic fertilizers? I mean, that's a good place to start. Then look inside your home. Are you using toxic cleaners and, perfumed sprays, all these things, the laundry detergents you use, all those things. So slowly by slowly, start changing those products out. And there's no excuse anymore. I mean, 45 years ago when I started this journey as a chiropractor, I had to make my own because there weren't things that were really readily available. So you can buy all kinds of clean products now. Look at what you put on your skin, because everything you put on your skin is being absorbed directly into your bloodstream. And the chemicals that you expose your body to, especially when it comes to breast cancer, there's something called xenoestrogens or chemical estrogens. So pesticides and herbicides, metals, those are xenoestrogens. They mimic and stimulate estrogen production in the body. Plastics, BPA, phthalates, some of the chemicals that are used in cosmetics and shampoos, parabens, all those things can mimic and stimulate estrogen and, trigger cancer, trigger breast cancer. So really become aware of the toxicity and then do things to detox, because no matter how clean you try to be, it's in the environment, it's in the rain, it's in the soil, it's on our foods. Even if we try to eat organic, maybe the farmer next door is spraying glyphosates on his crop. So learn about coffee enemas, colonic irrigations, lymphatic drainage, sweat in a sauna, because the sauna and sweating is the best way to try to get rid of those heavy metals.
Very good. When you talk about xenoestrogens, I can't help but talk about hormones. I mean, because I have a really good friend right now that, and because of the teachers that we have in the classroom, we know that not all estrogens are created equal either. And they are starving her of any hormones. And so what would you say to someone that would like, and I don't know if you'd rather talk about this later, but what would you say to someone that has had breast cancer, maybe had a mastectomy, and has zero estrogen, zero testosterone in their body, and they're not feeling well at all?
Well, that's part of essential number 3. So it's a good
let's
transition.
go. Let's do it. Let's do it.
It's about essential number 3 is balancing your energy. And part of that is balancing our hormones. We know when our hormones are off, we're off. Now, our hormones, our God-given natural hormones, do not cause cancer. What causes the cancer is all the chemical estrogens out there. Your balanced, healthy hormones will not cause breast cancer. So it's very important to test, don't guess when it comes to your hormones. I personally prefer saliva testing versus blood testing to look at hormones. I feel it's a more accurate way of looking at things. But your doctor may suggest, we want to put you on these drugs because we have to shut down your hormones because that's what's causing your cancer. That's one of the biggest questions we get from our community. I don't want to take these drugs, but I'm scared not to. And so, we educate them and help them to understand that, your hormones are not driving the cancer. You need your hormones for your brain health, your heart health, your bone health, your digestive health, your immune health, all of that. So we teach them things that they can do to support the hormone balance. Now, there's a couple of things that we have to talk about. There's a process called methylation. Methylation is your body's ability to break down those hormones and excrete the more aggressive, unhealthy metabolites. Some women, and I was one of them, this is how I learned about this, have a genetic SNP or weakness that prevents them from metabolizing their hormones properly. So you must learn to support that process. And there's supplements that you can take specifically for methyl support, things like flaxseed, fermented clean soy, cruciferous vegetables, dim, which is an extract of cruciferous vegetables.
Mhm.
And so you can support your body in that way. And then, secondly, find out how you're being exposed to all those chemical estrogens. And to go back to your question, I am comfortable, and I believe the literature supports that bioidentical hormones can be, if used properly and safely with the right information and the right practitioner, that they can be very supportive. I take testosterone, I do progesterone, I do estriol, which is the more protective of the estrogens, because there's 3 different kinds of estrogens. And, my estrogen ratio was off, my progesterone estrogen ratio was off. So I keep those in check and I keep them balanced, and, all is well.
That's wonderful. It's great to hear it. It's great to hear it that simply. And if anybody wanted to learn more about this, they can go to your website as well. And we'll talk about your website too. I just I want you to know that some of you are hearing this for the first time, because I said I wanted to do beginner all the way up. And Dr. V does such a wonderful job at that. But I want you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, because if you want to learn more about Dr. V, I put out a blog every Sunday at 4:44. You get it in your email and you'll know who's in the classroom. So if you're a subscriber, you already have all her information. But if you're not a subscriber, go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please become a subscriber, like and follow me on social media. Tell all your friends about this video, because you probably don't know people that have been shot, right? Because that's something random that happens. But you probably know someone that has had cancer, whether it's breast cancer, prostate, colon, whatever, lungs, whatever it is. So share this information with anyone, even if they haven't had breast cancer, because the algorithms on social media are such that they don't want this information out. So we've got to be strong 99%. And share it and tag it, do whatever you can to get this information out. Also, you can support our sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. So go to the sponsors page. Please support them the way that they're supporting the classroom. You can go to my workshops and look at all the workshops that we've done, do it yourself, so that you can get some of these toxins. We just did the M-Cube detox experience with Dr. Lee Cowden, and we had a lot of other doctors, a lot of teachers. We even had Doug Kaufman, who is all about fungus, and we have Dr. Furman, and we had, the names are just incredible of the doctors who came, Dr. Richard Horowitz, that came to talk about these things that we can let go and do it ourselves. Of course, it's always great to have a coach with us. And so if you can do that as well, you can do it. It's always an option for you. You can also go to my Shop Now bag. Dr. V talked about the fact that we need to look at our beauty products. If you go to my Shop Now bag, from head to toe, I use Keep Me Safe, and my makeup, my lip balm, whatever it is, I use it, and it has 0 synthetic, it's organic, and it's chemical free. And so just making sure that doesn't cause, even, the lotions that you put on, we put all our chemicals underneath the sink so that we can keep them away from our children, but then we bathe them in so many chemicals and put all this stuff, and then we wonder why our children are getting sick too. So this is safe, makeup and beauty products, but there's other things like how to be pain-free without medication. So just go to the Shop Now bag and check out and see if there's something there that you find that is speaking to you. And it's all Lily approved. Last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. So whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month or a one-time donation, it doesn't matter. If it's your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever you can do to help out, as you know, with censorship coming around the corner here, and being faced with this in the last 3 years, we need to do whatever we can to get this information out. So be a part of the good news, the new truths that are needing to come out and wake people up, because it is not as complicated as we think. And one pill does not solve all ills. You can take a pill, you can take responsibility. And the responsibility I talk about is empowering. It's freeing. So I want to make sure that you do everything that you possibly can. Today, we're talking to Dr. Veronique Desaulniers, and she is, you could go to breastcancerconqueror.com. There's more information there that you can tune into. If you have a question today, please type in a Q, write your question down. We're having some technical difficulties, so you'll see me looking around a little bit differently, but we'll get to your question if we can. Dr. V has to leave early, so we're going to end the class today at 12:55. So make sure that you have your questions in as soon as possible. Type in a Q, write your questions down. Okay, Dr. V, what have you been doing since we last met? Is there anything that you have, any programs that you would like to share about at breastcancerconqueror.com?
Yes, the new program, and I mentioned it earlier, as we were talking, was the Survive and Thrive, how to survive and thrive, conquering breast cancer with conventional treatments and natural medicine. And this is actually going to be book number 3. Book number 2 was an update, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally, where I take a deep dive into each of the 7 essentials. And everything is science-based. Everything is backed up by studies. So, this is information that you can count on and rely on. And so that's been a huge help to our community, because so many women felt relieved, like I was embarrassed or I was ashamed because I had to have a lumpectomy, even though I wanted to do, I wanted to heal my body naturally. So now they have a safe place. And, we're really opening up our doors to women in the pink movement, who, are kind of curious, that don't really know what the truth about breast cancer really is. But, we invite them with open arms, and, we're here to support them as much as we can.
I love that. I love that, because there seems to be anytime we want to create fear and manipulate people, we create fear. That's why if you don't do this by tomorrow, knowing that you've probably had cancer for the last 5 years, what's one day, what's 1 week to calmly and do the research? What's one day, what's 2 weeks to make a healthy decision for them, not for, and then you have people bullying, like you have to do this and you have to do that. So, I always offer solutions, but it's up to the person to decide what they want. It's not, I'm not married to the outcome, and I see that you're not married to the outcome either. You just want people to do what they feel is right for them. So that's wonderful.
Yes, and belief. It's all about your belief system, which can bring us into essential number 4.
Okay, let's do it.
Which is about healing the emotional wound. So I've seen clients who did chemotherapy, but they, in their mind, envisioned it as a healing nectar, and they didn't lose their hair. They didn't get sick. They did a lot of things that we suggested, as far as fasting and certain supplements and things to help them get through it. But they did marvelously well. I mean, we're talking about women that are stage 4, fractured hips, everywhere. And, they recover because their belief system, and as you mentioned, the will to survive, they have a purpose that they want to see carried out. And so essential number 4 is a big piece of the puzzle. And I think if I were to start the 7 essentials over again, I would put it as number 1.
Yes.
Because I believe that 90% of the healing occurs between your ears and what's in your heart. So, we all have wounds. We're all imperfect. We do the best that we can with the information that we have. Our parents did the same thing, so it's a matter of taking the time to, look at those wounds and be proactive about healing. I mean, nobody wants to open up Pandora's box. It's like ripping off the Band-Aid. You just have to face it. You just have to deal with it. Work with various coaches, work with, EFT practitioners. Evox is another great tool to help balance out those, stress frequencies in your body. There's a lot of tools out there that are available for you. And, one of my, I've read, so many books, and we recommend so many books to our community as they're going through their healing journey. So, You Are the Placebo by Joe Dispenza. I mean, we have all the chemistry we need in our brain to literally heal the body. And then a book called Getting Well Again by, name escapes me, but Carl Simonton. He was way ahead of his time in the 1980s. He was a radiation oncologist, and he recognized that people who did not have a purpose, who were depressed, who didn't have, family to support them, those are the ones that didn't do well, versus the ones who had a purpose and really saw this as a gift and an opportunity to grow rather than being the victim. So, his great saying is that cancer is a message of love, and that, do more things that bring you joy and less things that bring you pain. And it can really, transform the journey into a very positive thing, because you're looking for growth and opportunity.
Interesting. I don't know if you know this quote by Henry Moseley, but he was a psychiatrist in the 1800s. And he said, sadness not expressed in tears may make other organs weep. I think that that's so beautiful. And I share that when I coach people and when I do the workshop, the I Am the Solution workshop, where we go from being a victim to empowered. It's so true. And if I could rewrite his quote, I would say, we'll make other organs weep, because we think that stiff upper lip, we've got to be tough. And as a Christian woman, I take it, whatever God gives me, I take it and I'm good with it. But sometimes we just need to mourn. Sometimes we just need to be sad, but not forever. Just give yourself a few days, cry all you need to cry, get it out, and then just get back to that warrior, that conqueror mode, that victory pose. But that quote, it explains that we've known this for a long time. Why is it that psychiatry is the only medical field or medical group that doesn't have to diagnose to give a pill, medication? Sadness is sadness, not necessarily depression. And so we need to discern what sadness is and deal with the sadness. And anyway, let's keep on talking.
No, that's great. I love that. I love that quote. I'll definitely have to share that as well.
Yes.
All right. So essential
number 5.
Number 5 is embrace biological dentistry. And so basically your teeth are living organs in your mouth, and everything is connected to your organs through the acupuncture meridian system. So anything that happens to an individual tooth will directly or indirectly affect your organs. Those silver fillings, if you have any, are not silver. They're 50% mercury. Mercury is a metalloestrogen and mimics and stimulates estrogen in the body. Root canals are dead organs, basically, that are dripping toxicity into your body. So there's a lot of factors that go into dental health. It's not just about getting a cleaning, but working with a biological dentist who understands the connection between health and dis-ease. Essential number 6 is to repair the body with therapeutic plants and herbs. And so this is another big question. What can I take? What can I do to weaken the cancer and boost my immune system? Well, we can spend a whole day on that very topic. But some basic things, make sure your vitamin D level is optimal. Make sure you're getting trace minerals like zinc, selenium, magnesium, very, very important for your immune system. There's a whole plethora and list of products like vitamin C and Salicinium, poly-MVA, artemisinin, and wormwood, curcumin. I mean, the list goes on and on. That has been proven in studies in vitro and in vivo. So, in petri dishes, but in live people and animals as well, that those substances literally can kill cancer cells and boost your immune system at the same time.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So we're almost there at the end. So early detection, let's talk about early detection.
So number 7, yes. So as I mentioned, it's very important to always test, don't guess when it comes to your health. And so we know that the pink movement has really led women to think that mammograms is the only way for early detection. I personally have never had a mammogram. I don't encourage women to have a mammogram. If you choose to have one, recognize the risks. There's compression, there's radiation. Radiation causes cancer. 50% of the results are false positives or false negatives. So it's a very, unsure way of getting the answers that you're looking for. So if you choose to have a mammogram, always back it up with an ultrasound. Then there's thermography. Thermography relates to the physiological changes that are going on in your body by looking at the infrared heat that's being emitted. It will not diagnose cancer, but it will tell you if there's something suspicious that's going on. So if you have a thermogram, back it up with ultrasound as well. Of course, there's breast self-exams, there's blood work that you can do. There's so many tests now that we call liquid biopsies that can determine what kind of cancer and if you have cancer just by doing a blood test. So there's lots of opportunities to keep a pulse on your health. And we always encourage our clients, make sure you check your inflammatory markers, because if there's inflammation going on in the body, chances are you are actively cancering. I don't like to use the term cancer-free because
we all have it. We all have it.
Exactly. And that cancer-free, ding, 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 ring the bell when doctors tell you you're cancer-free, go home and live out your life. Women don't have a clue that they need to continue to monitor those breast cancer stem cells, those baby cancer cells that can cause recurrence and metastasis. So,
well, I am sorry. I really, truly am sorry that you had to go through this experience, but I'm grateful that you went through it as an empowered woman as opposed to a victim, because you wouldn't be here today if you had gone through, I call it the white coat trance. I'm sorry, but I call it the white coat trance. I hear and obey. And all of a sudden you don't think about, well, why should I do that? When did this start? And we need to be our own MD. We need to be our own medical detective. And so, when I hear you speak, I hear only empowerment in your voice, and inclusivity. You include everybody. Whatever choices people make, people have their own journeys, but it's always nice that we can turn that around. So we only have about 2 minutes left, and I decided I'm just going to end the class today early because of all the technical difficulty that we had. I just wanted to go out and get a new monitor. So if we have about 2 minutes left before we finish the class today, any final words of encouragement that you can share? If somebody's tuning in today, what would you like to tell them if they're just getting a diagnosis and they're figuring out what they need to do?
One of my favorite proverbs is about a caterpillar. So just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, ... it became a butterfly. Mm-hmm. And so you may be at that caterpillar stage, or maybe you're in that cocoon where it's dark and scary and you don't know what the next steps are, and there's fear in your life. Just know that if you trust the laws of nature, and you have that belief that your body can heal, and you ask for the answers to come to you, you will come out on the other side a much happier and healthier you.
It's so important also. I want to add, just in case they didn't hear it, we are part of the solution. We've got to do it. Just because that, when you said that ringing of the bell, they go back to eating the sugar. They go back to celebrating the way they were, that what got them sick, they go back to that. So it's so important that once we know better, we do better, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's about being proactive and taking responsibility for your health.
And if there's a recurrence, we go back to the drawing board, right?
Absolutely.
And figure out where else we get to dig in and find some new truths about what's causing this issue. I love the work of Reiki Hammer, who, there's just so much information, or now called New German Medicine. There's so much information out there. If any of you are thinking about doing conventional or natural or whatever, do your own research and make your own decision. Don't let anyone talk you into it. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Be your own MD, your own medical detective. Thank you, Dr. Veronique Desaulniers. It's so nice to reconnect with you. And I'm looking forward to that next time where you come on to talk about your next book. So, and maybe before that too. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's been wonderful. Thanks for sharing my truths and my message of hope.
Thank you. Thank you. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Veronique Desaulniers wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. We'll see you. Take care.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for watching today. We'll see you tomorrow.